Hey everyone, welcome. I'm so thrilled you're joining me for this explainer today because we are going to deconstruct an absolute engineering marvel. Literally, we're tearing down the invisible, globe-spanning infrastructure that powers the biggest streaming platform on Earth. Yep, Netflix. We'll explore exactly how they completely transformed from, these vulnerable legacy systems into this massive, cloud-native juggernaut that somehow manages to deliver flawless, high-definition video straight to your living room without a single stutter.
Okay, let's dive right into this by looking at one absolutely critical metric: 90 seconds. According to Netflix's own internal data, that is exactly how long they have to capture your attention before you just lose interest, abandon your search, and close the app. Think about it. If a page loads slowly, or if the search results lag even a little bit, you're gone. Every single piece of engineering we're about to look at is meticulously designed to beat that 90-second clock.
And to keep you hooked within that tiny, tiny window, their infrastructure flawlessly processes a staggering 450 petabytes of data every single day. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that scale. That's 450 with 15 zeros after it. It's an almost unimaginable amount of information constantly flowing through their telemetry and streaming platforms all over the globe, scaling automatically across hundreds of edge locations. But to really understand how they achieved this modern miracle, we kind of have to look back at how they almost failed. Which brings us to Section 1, Escaping the Monolithic Trap. Now, what's really interesting here is looking back at 2008. A catastrophic database corruption basically brought Netflix's DVD and early streaming operations to a complete standstill. It totally exposed their legacy monolithic architecture as a ticking time bomb. In that old setup, everything was just tangled together in one massive application in a single database. Listen to this. Under that old system, as their server capacity approached 95%, response times spiked to 1,800 milliseconds, and the error rate absolutely skyrocketed to 32%. A 32% failure rate. In a monolith, a spike in just one little feature could crash the entire platform for everyone. And remember, when you only have 90 seconds to keep a user's attention, 1,800 milliseconds of lag, that's a death sentence.
And the operational constraints behind the scenes were just as bad. In the old world, their engineers faced these rigid, honestly terrifying 6.5-hour deployment windows. Dealing with a 28% failure rate that required rollbacks, it was a nightmare. But today, by fully migrating to a distributed microservices architecture, Netflix achieves over 1,000 successful daily deployments with a failure rate of just 0.8%. They completely decoupled their systems so their teams can innovate independently without worrying about bringing down the whole ship.
Moving right along to Section 2, the AWS control plane.
So this is essentially the brain of the entire operation. This control plane handles absolutely everything you do on the app right up until the video actually starts playing. When you open the Netflix app on your TV or phone, you aren't just pinging one server. You are instantly triggering this incredible symphony of hundreds of independent microservices, all communicating through APIs. One service verifies your identity, another pulls your specific profile preferences, another one fetches the text and images for the shows, while this massive recommendation engine uses machine learning to predict exactly what you might want to watch next. And the beauty of this is if the search service goes down, you can actually still browse your recommendations because all these systems are totally isolated from each other.
Now, to make sure all those hundreds of microservices can fetch data with ultra-low latency, Netflix relies heavily on something called EV Cache. It's a distributed in-memory data store, and it's used in 4 distinct, pretty brilliant ways. First, as a look-aside cache, so they can quickly check for data before hitting the slower backend databases. Second, as a transient data store to actively track your playback sessions. Third, as a primary store for your pre-computed personalized homepage. And fourth, they use it to hold high-volume data, like all the UI text strings you see on screen. Ultimately, this guarantees those precious 90 seconds aren't wasted staring at a loading spinner. All right, Section 3, Mastering the Data Maze. Having hundreds of microservices and tons of different databases creates a pretty massive new problem. How do you keep all that data synchronized? Well, Netflix uses a polyglot persistence model, which is just a fancy way of saying they use different databases for different jobs. Like they use Cassandra for user profiles, but MySQL for billing. The secret weapon behind keeping all this synchronized in real time is a vital piece of technology called Change Data Capture, or CDC. CDC is a framework that captures committed changes directly from a database's transaction log in real time. But the absolutely crucial part, it does this without acquiring locks on the tables. That means it never, ever blocks the live write traffic of the database. Let's trace how this builds into an actual working pipeline. Let's say a business user updates a movie deal. First, the source connector, using their custom dblog library, captures that change. Second, that event is routed through a high-durability transport layer called Kafka. Third, a stream processor called Flink catches the event and actually enriches it on the fly by instantly calling other microservices. And finally, step 4, it drops that enriched data straight into the Elasticsearch index. This entire journey, it happens in near real time. We're talking single-digit milliseconds. This takes us to section 4, the magic handoff. Up to this point, the AWS control plane has been doing all this heavy lifting, right? Predicting your choices, keeping data in sync globally, but eventually you find exactly what you want to watch. So the crucial point is, what actually happens at the exact millisecond you'd finally press play? Well, our journey pivots entirely. You're no longer interacting with the Amazon Web Services control plane. You're about to be seamlessly handed off to a completely different, custom-built infrastructure, the data plane. Which brings us to section 5, Open Connect Data Plane. See, while AWS is perfect for computing recommendations and managing profiles, it is definitely not built to stream thousands of petabytes of massive video files globally without immense cost and severe latency. So Netflix did something crazy. They built Open Connect, their very own proprietary physical content delivery network. And this handoff is lightning fast. Let's walk through this timeline. At millisecond 1, the control plane checks your authorization and device type. By millisecond 10, the system has already evaluated the health, load, and physical proximity of all global Open Connect servers and selected the absolute best one for you. By millisecond 50, the video is being sourced directly from a local edge appliance. And by millisecond 100, streaming has effortlessly begun on your TV. No buffering, no waiting. This custom physical infrastructure is a massive competitive advantage for them. Think about a standard internet setup. Usually, heavy video files have to travel all the way across the global, highly congested public internet, battling traffic and physical distance, which is exactly what causes buffering. But Netflix? They literally ship physical hardware appliances completely loaded with their content to sit directly inside your local internet service provider's data center. So when you hit play, that video isn't crossing an ocean. It's practically being served from a box sitting in your own neighborhood. The sheer scale of this physical network is just mind-blowing. Netflix has actually deployed over 8,000 of these Open Connect appliances globally, partnering with over 1,000 different ISPs. And get this, by localizing the traffic, they've saved these ISPs an estimated $1.25 billion in transit fees. Plus, these boxes use predictive caching to store regionally popular content ahead of time, and they store each title in multiple bit rates. Meaning, if your home Wi-Fi suddenly drops in quality, the player on your TV seamlessly switches to a lower resolution file sitting on that exact same local box, completely preventing your movie from buffering. It's brilliant. When you combine the predictive brilliance of the AWS control plane with the localized heavy lifting of the Open Connect data plane, you get a system capable of managing this insane statistic. Netflix alone consumes roughly 15% of all global downstream internet traffic. 15%. That is a staggering slice of the entire world's bandwidth, and it is managed flawlessly by this dual-plane architecture. But, as you can imagine, maintaining 15% of the internet requires absolute resilience. They actually achieve 99.99% availability by leveraging serverless computing, which easily handles up to 75,000 machine learning inference requests every single second. And they also maintain this uptime by literally constantly attacking themselves. Seriously, they use their famous Chaos Monkey tool to intentionally disable their own production servers randomly. This ensures their fallback systems and circuit breakers isolate failures before you, sitting on your couch, ever see an error on your screen. However, even the most optimized on-demand architecture has limits, and we saw this during a very recent stress test. The 2024 Tyson Paul live boxing match drew an unprecedented 65 million concurrent viewers. And here's the catch. Because live video cannot be pre-processed, encoded into multiple bit rates, and shipped to local ISP boxes days in advance, it heavily exposed the limitations in real-time encoding and edge caching. It literally pushed this incredibly optimized system to its absolute breaking point. Which leaves us with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Netflix spent well over a decade building a flawless, predictive, highly localized architecture for on-demand content. It's a marvel. But live streaming? That plays by entirely different rules, demanding real-time, global consensus. So, as we look at the engineering marvel that exists today, we really have to ask ourselves, if on-demand streaming took a decade to perfect, what incredible engineering breakthroughs will it take to conquer the live streaming frontier? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this changes the way you look at your screen the next time you press play.